brothers and sisters who are praying for this outpouring of the Holy Spirit that we're going to need to finish this work. And so I want you to bless each person that's taking up this challenge and who's praying this prayer, and that it'll be realized when it's needed. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, so the first thing we're going to be talking about is exercise. And most people just go, ugh, I'm too tired to exercise. One of the reasons you're tired is because you're not putting the body to work. And so it becomes listless, it becomes lazy. And so exercise actually boosts or raises up your BMR. That's your basal metabolic rate. And you're going to have more energy. But you've got to use it or you're going to lose it. So you've got to have an exercise program. My exercise program is primarily this trampoline that I have. You've seen those ones that you bounce on. And I do about a 20 to 30 minute routine on it every day. And part of my routine is I will bounce for 5 or 10 minutes, then I'll get off, do 20 push-ups, and I'll do 100 sit-ups. Then I'll bounce for 5 minutes, and it resets my body. And I can get off and do another 20 push-ups and another 100 sit-ups. And I'll get back on, and I'll bounce 5 minutes, and guess what? I can do another 20 push-ups and another 100 sit-ups. And I don't do the little girly ones. When I do the sit-ups, I have my knees up, and I go from left to right and switch them. This is a more strenuous sit-up that I do. And so by the end of a half an hour, I've done 60 push-ups and 300 crunches. And I always know from my father's side of the family, they're all beer-drinking Germans, and they all have back problems because they have a beer gut, from the beer drinking. Germans, they were weaned on beer, they're famous for beer.
What about those that may have some health issues, heart-wise, where they can't do that type of,
Bouncy.
part?
Yeah. Well, you have to adjust it according to your needs, Some people are missing an arm, and so obviously they're not going to do push-ups. One-handed ones are really hard to do. Yeah. So you have to adjust it according to your abilities, your age, and stuff like that. So some people, Ellen White says the very best exercise is gardening. Gardening. Yeah. Because not only have you done movement, but you have something to eat and something to share. So she says gardening is the best exercise. Because if you garden, a good-sized garden, you're going to be lifting, pulling, holding, shoveling, weeding, up and down, up and down. Yeah, you're going to get exercise when you garden. So, but other than that, good brisk walking is good exercise, And I know up here in about 4 more months, that's not going to be fun at all. You slip and slide on that ice, and yeah. So that's why I've got my trampoline, because no matter what happens, I can always use that trampoline. I'll take it outside every time I can on my front porch, but when the weather is bad, I do it inside, and it really works for me. So I know I want to keep this flat, because when this starts going out, the back goes out, because it causes a bowing here in the back. Because what happens to women when they're in their 9th month of pregnancy? Oh, my back, my back, my back. Well, don't worry, you'll drop the watermelon pretty soon. But yeah, when you're a beer drinker, that watermelon doesn't drop so easy. So anyway, you should exercise at least every other day. Don't go more than 2 days, because when you exercise, it raises your energy level, but it only lasts for about 48 hours. And if you don't exercise in another 48 hours, it goes right back down. So rather than having this yo-yo up and down, at least exercise. I do every day except Sabbath. Sabbath is it's a rest day. I don't exercise on Sabbath, but I do exercise all the other days. One of the first things that I do in the morning is I bounce on that. It's a wake-up thing before I read my Bible. I take it outside, I bounce on it for about 15 minutes, then I come inside, do my Bible studies, break my breakfast, eat my breakfast and stuff. Then I usually like to go on a 20 to 30-minute walk after I eat, because that helps the food to digest. And then about 1 or 2 o'clock is when I do my half-hour routine with the push-ups and the sit-ups to keep the body firm. And then at night before I go to bed, I like to bounce on it, because I tend to get tight up here in my traps. And so I just bounce on it like this, and it loosens all those muscles, and I just fold into my bed like an old suit. Just very nice, very comfortable. So pick an exercise that you can do and that you enjoy doing. Because if it's something you don't like, you're going to quit. You're not going to last more than a month or two. And so you want to be able to find something that you can do. It's always good to have a buddy system in case you get lazy and you got a buddy that's saying, no, come on, we can do this. Let's go. So a buddy system is always good. And because I travel so much, my buddy system is my music. I listen to music while I run. It takes my mind off of, listen to me sweat, and I listen to the music. And it's always very positive, uplifting music that I listen to. So it inspires me. So I get an extra bonus from that. But whether it's walking or bouncing on a trampoline, swimming you're not going to lose too much weight because it's not what we call a weight-bearing exercise. To lose weight, you have to do a weight-bearing exercise. In other words, you're fighting gravity. You're not going to lose a lot of weight bicycling because basically you're using your thighs, but the rest of the body is just sitting around. So although it's good, it's better than nothing. Exercise is, you want to try to incorporate all the body to some degree. Whether it's stretching, some people like Pilates. I don't even like the way they look. So I'm not interested in Pilates. And some people do yoga. I'm not going to stare at my navel. But if it works for you and it keeps you toned, then go ahead and use it. But keep hunting around till you find something. You can find a lot of exercises on the internet. Just type in exercises for my back, for my legs, for my hips, or whatever. And there's lots of them on there. So I'm always forgetting to use the internet because I'm not used to it, We'll ask, who was president after Johnson? And they go, well, look it up. And I said, oh, yeah, I forgot who was president after Johnson. But I haven't gotten in that habit yet. But that means I'm not addicted to that little device either. So I'd rather be ignorant about it than addicted to it. Because some people just can't put it down. Especially our teenagers, they're ruined because of that. And I know, well, there's a lot of videos on now you can watch on YouTube just telling the parents and warning the grandparents as well. You got to get this away from these kids. They can't be sleeping with it, and they do. And when they sleep with it, all that radiation goes into their brain. They have it right under their pillow. They don't want to miss a click, or whatever it is that they're listening for, thinking that, oh yeah, the Pope's going to call you. Really? Mine is not in my bedroom. In fact, 90% of the time, my cell phone is on top of the refrigerator, and that's where I leave it. I own it. It doesn't own me. It stays on the refrigerator. It's traveling me now with my car because my car is 35 years old, and it's a prayer mobile. When I go out, I'm not sure I'm coming back. So I had towing. Be sure it had towing on my insurance. I said, I need towing. Well, they said, we'll give you towing, but only 10 miles. Well, that means I can't go to Palmer. I can't go anywhere outside of Anchorage because anything more than 10 miles, they won't pay for the towing. So, lesson learned. All right, so what are the benefits for exercising? And here we go. People say, well, I don't want to be an athlete. Well, we don't exercise to be an athlete. I just happened to fall into it. I wasn't planning on it, but I saw I was doing so well that it might as well give me some attention to give me some credibility to going into the high schools and, Kiwanis and Rotary. When you tell them you're a silver medalist, they're right there. Really, we've never had a silver medalist speak at our club. So that's what we're lining up right now for Tennessee. So here are some benefits for exercise. And all of these you need. They're very good. So exercise is going to bring more oxygen into the body. And we know that the brain uses 4 times more oxygen than the entire body. Did you know that? This is the big brain. The brain is the big oxygen user. So when you start getting oxygen deprivation, you're going to be tired, you're going to have trouble concentrating, and you're going to have trouble focusing because it's not getting the oxygen. So when you're oxygen low, you're going to be in trouble with the brain. So anyway, you're going to get more oxygen. It'll help digestion. As I said, I take a walk after I eat. It really helps the food to digest. So 15, 20 minutes. If I go to a buffet, I walk to Miami and back. So anyway, it will help the food to digest, and it really does work. It'll improve your circulation. It'll relax your nerves and your emotions. Have you ever seen it when people get upset? People will say, you need to go take a walk. It's really true. Taking a walk just helps. The body is now moving, and so it releases some of the tension. So exercise is good for that. It'll increase your resistance to disease. It'll help your figure and your complexion because it's going to tone up the muscles, And you're going to perspire, which releases toxins out of the skin. Now, we're not done yet. That's only half of them. Here are some more benefits to exercise. It's going to reduce fatigue. We suffer from two kinds of fatigue, hypertonic and hypotonic. Exercise helps with both of those, so don't leave it out. It's going to strengthen your muscles and your bones. You see, the reason most people get osteoporosis, that's just a big word for saying your bones are like straws. They're empty, they're hollow, and they will snap and break just like that. You know, they say, oh, she fell and broke her hip. That's usually not the case. The hip broke and she fell. That's really the case. So you have to keep that in mind. Her hip was empty, and it couldn't support any weight. And it just, the day it snapped, and say, oh, she fell and broke her hip. Yeah, she had osteoporosis. Her hip broke and she fell. So, but it's going to strengthen. But you've got to put weight on these bones to strengthen them. If you sit at home, sit in your car, sit at work, your bones are going to be in trouble. You've got to put weight bearing on those bones. Because when the body says, oh, you're going to use it, fine, we'll fill them up and make them good and solid. But if you don't use it, you're going to lose it. That's right. It'll help your heart against sudden disease. The heart is a muscle that never stops. It's amazing. But it actually does stop for a split second between lub and dub and lub and dub. It rests for a split second. That's not enough of a rest for me. But this muscle is the only muscle that can rest for a split second, That's all it needs. Isn't that amazing how God created that? There's no other muscle that can do that. They have to rest a lot longer. But the heart, split second, and it's ready. I'm good, let's go. Come on, don't stop. Wow, incredible. So it'll sharpen your mental powers, because again, you're getting more oxygen up here, and this is where you need it. It'll enhance your poise and your agility, because you're going to build up your coordination. That's what I like about the trampoline. You know, at 75 years old, you lose some of your coordination. I have to be near a wall when I put my pants on, because sometimes I fall over. You're not allowed to watch, but I will. And then number 12, it'll protect against sudden stress. So here we have a dozen outstanding reasons that you want in your life for exercising. And if you don't do the exercise, the body's going to start ticking them off. I don't have balance anymore. I don't have enough oxygen in my brain. My muscles are becoming weak. I don't have, on and on it goes. Don't lose any of these. You want to keep them all if you want to be complete. So there we have a dozen benefits. Not one reason why you shouldn't exercise. Sometimes if we have an injury or we had a birthing problem and we have a hereditary factor, then I understand that. But even those people work around it. I know quadriplegics that exercise. They figure out a way to exercise. You know, that's what these doctors do. They say, you can do this, you can do this, you can do this. So Johnny Erickson taught us. She's a quadriplegic, but she exercises. Yeah, she figures out a way to make it work. So you got to keep moving. And now this ties in with the biggest problem, one of the biggest problems we have in the United States, and that's weight loss. Now, I'm going to the part of the United States. I'm going to Tennessee. The last Sunday of this month, I fly out to Tennessee. The South is the heaviest part of the entire country. There's more obesity in Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee than anywhere else in the country. And they will fry paper towels and eat them. I mean, if you fry it, they'll eat it. Well, I'm going to look and see, and I'll take pictures and send them to you. I told you. Anyway, 3 things you can do, and you will lose guaranteed 1 to 2 pounds a week. You say, well, that's not enough. Yes, it is. It took time to put the weight on. You can't just go bimbo and it's gone. You have to walk. You have to cooperate with the laws of nature. And one of those laws of nature is 1 to 2 pounds is called safe weight loss. If you lose it faster than that, what's going to happen is you're going to have a lot of flabby skin because the muscles weren't able to pull it in fast enough. So you don't want to lose these crash diets. How many of you used to see that TV show, The Biggest Loser? Yeah, I used to watch that faithfully, man. I would pray for those people that were on there because I know what they're going through with my own family. And so I would watch that, and always about halfway through the season, the men didn't take their shirts off anymore. You may not have noticed that, but they have skin hanging everywhere, and they have to have a very painful, expensive operation to have that skin cut off. They sew it together and cut it off because they lost the weight too fast. And you can't do that. 1 to 2 pounds a week is safe weight loss. So what does that mean? In a year, there's 52 weeks in a year. If you're losing 1 to 2 pounds a week, you're going to lose 50 to 100 pounds in 1 year. Of course people are going to notice. They're going to say, what happened? Oh, I gave birth. So, yeah, you know, I don't like fooling with Mother Nature. You put it on naturally, you got to take it off naturally. And I know some people have these where they have their stomach all cut up and stuff like that. Oh, man, I wouldn't go that route. You know, I avoid surgery like the plague. You're cutting on my body, and it's not going to ever be the same. There's going to be scars, there's going to be adhesions, there's going to be all kinds of problems. So you want to be sure that you do it as naturally as possible. Cooperate with your body. It's ready and willing, but you gotta participate. And if you don't participate, it's going to backfire on you. Yeah. So, what do? Weight loss. These 3 things, you will lose 1 to 2 pounds a week. You will never be hungry. You will never be irritable. And this works. I have given this to thousands of people all over the world, and I say, if you don't lose 1 to 2 pounds a week, I'm going to look for the Oreos under your bed, because you have to lose 1 to 2 pounds a week. When you do this, you will. It's just biologically sound. And the first rule is you need to eat natural food. God puts something in all of his food to keep you from eating too much. What's in God's food that fills you up so you stop eating? Fiber. That's right. Your stomach is like your gas tank. Once it's full, that nozzle snaps, and it was to say, no more. Well, you have a gland in your brain called the apostat gland. It's like the appetite gland. Your appetite stops when this tank is full. You have a mechanism in that triggers and say, full. Now, is it going to be full if I eat a candy bar? No. I want more. It's not full. Well, how about if I drink a Coca-Cola? No, it's not full. Your fat cells are full, but your stomach isn't full, and your brain's going to keep saying, keep eating, keep eating, keep eating until it's full. That's when you stop eating, is when this is full. It says, I've had enough, okay? And by the way, you shouldn't eat until you're full. You should stop eating, and you can still eat 3 or 4 more bites, because it takes about a half an hour for everything to register that's down there. So if you eat until you're full, a half hour later, you're going to be stuffed because you ate too much. This is one I really have to watch for, because I like God's food. It tastes better than Chicken Licken and Mac Attack. God's food really, I mean, I love avocados, strawberries, pineapple, potatoes. Potatoes are my favorite vegetable. I could eat potatoes every day. Every day. And I guess I'm stuck too, because I'm German on one side and Irish. And of course the Irish potato is what they're famous for. So I've loved potatoes. Now granted, I don't eat some potatoes now. I don't eat potatoes au gratin. I don't eat potatoes, so you call it au gratin. That's with cheese. And I don't eat French fries, but I eat baked potatoes, steamed potatoes. And instead of putting butter on it, I put mashed avocado. It's wonderful on a baked potato. People say, what? And I said, well, try it. And they said, you know, that's better than butter because it's richer. It has more flavor than butter. Butter just has a greasy flavor. But an avocado, that's got flavor. Yeah. So you can put all kinds of stuff in a baked potato. You can put hummus in the baked potato. You can put all kinds of, you can make cashew cheese. And by the way, I have 6 pages of recipe. Does anybody know how to use that photocopy machine down there? Nan? Yeah, I was hiding it. But anyway, I've got 6, well, it's 3 pages front and back. And so either tonight or tomorrow, if you can run those off, we'll have those recipes for you. These are recipes that I've gathered in my travels. When I taste something good, I ask them for the recipe, and they say, we'll give it to you if you don't charge. And I said, I won't. I'll just take a donation. 20 bucks. No, they're free. So, eat natural food from dirt to dish. No playing around. Every time man plays with it, he does something wrong, doesn't he? Because what you're saying is God didn't make this right. We're gonna fix it up a little bit. Well, when you fix it up a little bit, that's when we start having problems here in our body, because our body was designed to respond to earth food, not factory food. So, natural food. Why do you think we call this planet Mother Earth? Mom is going to feed you, but you got to go to Mom and eat what she produces. So, You keep eating out of jars, boxes, and cans, you're going to look like a jar, a box, or a can. All right? Eat natural food, full of fiber. You're going to be fine. So that's the rule number 1. Dirt to dish, no playing around. Number 2, you need to eat the big meal in the morning so you've got all day to burn it. But when do people eat their big meal? When they get home. So they're going to bed or 3 or 4 hours. Are they going to burn it? No. They ate all these calories. Think of calories as energy, okay? When you eat calories, calories is energy. You burn energy. So if you eat your big calorie in the morning, you've got all day to burn it, right? But if you eat it at night, there's no time to burn it. You're going to bed in 3 or 4 hours. So instead of burning those calories, what does the body have to do? Store it. There's no choice. When you take in energy, body says, I'm either going to burn it or store it. You decide. Are you going to exercise? Are you going to eat your big meal in the morning? Lighten up at night. You actually don't need 3 meals a day. I don't know who came up with that number. Someone told me it was because we used to be farmers and we would eat a big breakfast, run out, eat lunch, run back, eat again, then run out to finish the day, and so we ate 3 times a day. Well, you don't need to eat 3 times a day in this society. You can survive very well. I eat 2 meals a day. I eat 2 meals a day. And so I don't have any problems. And when you eat 2 meals a day, you've already cut your grocery bill by 1/3, haven't you? Yeah. People say, well, it costs too much. I said, no, I cut my grocery bill into thirds. And I'll tell you what, beans and rice are a lot cheaper than shrimp and steak and all these prepared foods. By the pound, they're very expensive. Yeah, but I buy, you know, I did Fred Meyer, I look for that little red sticker that says reduced. Yeah. And so that's what I load up on. All right. So the third and final thing, and this will be it, is exercise. Muscle is the flame that burns fat. If you work muscle, the muscle says, in order for me to do this, I need calories, I need energy, and it's going to burn up your fat cells. It's exactly what happens. So muscles will burn the fat. There it is. Those 3 things. That's all you have to do. You don't have to buy special pills, take special shots, get a surgery done. No, just do those 3 things. You will lose 1 to 2 pounds a week. You cannot gain weight on this plan. It won't work. You'll lose weight. Because if you don't need to lose weight, you won't lose weight. Let me say that too for some thinner people. Say, oh, I can't lose 5 more pounds. I'll disappear. Well, you won't lose weight then. You'll maintain weight. Because the only reason you're going to lose weight is the body says, I don't like this. You know, you've got excess on here. So if you eat right, I'm going to bring you where you're supposed to be. Now, some people have bigger bones than other people, and so they are going to be bigger. And the test for big bones is if you take the inside of your wrist and your thumb and your middle finger, if it doesn't touch, you've got big bones. So you're going to carry a little more weight. If it just touches, you've got medium bones. If they overlap, you've got tiny bones. Okay? So that's how to know. But almost all my fluffy friends said, well, I've got big bones. No, you got a big butt. You don't got big bones. But they don't. They want to create a story, you know. They want to make it up. Oh, I got big bones. That's what my brother said at 420 pounds. Yeah, your bones didn't get that big. So, all right. Now, I'm going to have to skip some of this here because this seminar isn't set up for 2 hours. So we're going to skip a couple of things here. I read these to you in the sermon today from Proverbs. And then we'll have to skip this. Journal of the American Medical Association said, this is amazing, a vegetarian diet can prevent how much? 97% of our coronary occlusions. That's heart attack. #1 killer in North America, heart attack. We can virtually eliminate it by doing what? Vegetarian diet. If you go on a vegetarian diet, we can prevent 97% of our heart attacks. This report didn't come out last year, or 5 years ago, or 10 years ago. This report came out in June of 1961. Yes, we've known for over half a century how to stop the #1 killer. But heart attacks are big business. And so the people who are in that business don't care for you to find out how to stop it. But I'm telling you how to stop it. And this is what will do it. A vegetarian diet will prevent 90, that's according to the Journal of the American Medical Association, one of the most prestigious medical journals in the world. And they said, this will do the trick. We can stop it. Yes. All right. Now, one of the things I like to really explain to people is how this body is structured, what it's designed for. A car is an internal combustion engine, correct? In order for it to run, it requires gasoline or diesel. Well, now electricity. But anyway, what is this machine designed for? So anatomically, let's take a look at this body and see how to make it run well. And we can prove biologically you are absolutely designed to be a plant-eating animal. No question about it. So let's begin with our jaw structures, our mandibles right here. I want to see if you can do what I do. Can you move your jaw from left to right, like this? Okay, that's good. How about up and down, like this? Now here's the third one. Can you move it forward and backward? Don't you look silly? You can move your jaw in 3 directions. Only vegetarian animals can do that. The jaw of a meat-eating animal will only go up and down. You have never seen a dog eat like this. He can't. He's a meat-eating animal, and the jaw structure will only allow him to go up and down. But goats, horses, cows, your mama, the jaw is designed to break down bulky, fibrous plant food. There's no question about this jaw structure. But let's continue. Your dental structure, your teeth. Any dentist can look at these teeth and tell you this is a plant-eating animal. Your molars and bicuspids are flat on the top. They're not sharp and rigid like a meat-eating. You have 4 canine incisors for penetrating carrots and apples. But the rest of your teeth are flat, aren't they? Are they sharp and pointed like a wolf or a bear? No, they're not. They're flat. If you take these teeth and you sneak up to a cow and you try to take a bite of a Big Mac, all you're going to get is kicked. Because these teeth will not puncture his hide, will it? No, they're not designed to puncture flesh. They're designed to grind vegetables, fruits, nuts, and grains. And they do it perfectly. But we're not done yet. Let's keep going. Saliva. If they were to send a sample of your saliva to a laboratory, put it under an electron microscope, they would find a very high concentration of special enzymes that break down starches. This only occurs in vegetarian animals. Horses, gorillas, giraffes, they have this enzyme to break down starches. So your saliva gave you up. Your saliva clearly said, whatever this animal is, scientists would look at this and say, this is a plant-eating animal. Well, no, they eat Big Macs. Well, that's stupid because the enzyme isn't there for that. It's there for starches, not for carcasses. Does that rhyme? Starches, carcasses. All right, continue. When you sweat off your skin. The meat-eating animal sweats off their tongue. Look at any dog when it's hot out. All right, your claws. You do not have claws. You have the most unique food-gathering apparatus on this planet. You have an opposable thumb and soft padded fingers, so when you gather the vegetables, the berries, and the fruit, you don't destroy them. But man likes to pretend he has claws, doesn't he? Oh yeah, he sits down and grabs a fork and a knife, and he goes, "Rah, I'm a meat-eating animal. Look at my claws." Who are you kidding? Okay? Your hand structure is not designed to gather flesh. You can't rip the flesh off the side of an animal. You can pet him. Yeah. All right. Hydrochloric acid. The meat-eating animal produces 10 times more hydrochloric acid than you do. You do not produce enough hydrochloric acid to break down flesh. It's impossible. So the hydrochloric acid is another giveaway. But there's one more, and this is the big one. Your digestive tract is very long and convoluted, lots of turns in it. The digestive tract of a meat-eating animal is very short. It's only 3 times of the length of the animal's torso. So when meat goes in, it has to go out quickly, all right? And it will with the meat-eating animal. But in this digestive tract, when you put meat or cheese in this digestive tract, there's no fiber in it. And guess what happens? It goes through that 40 feet very slowly. fruits and vegetables will shoot through this in 10 to 12 hours, depending upon what you ate and how much. You know how long it takes flesh or cheese to go through your body? 72 hours, 3 days. Do you know what happens to that food when it's sitting in here for 3 days? It's called putrefaction. It's going to rot because it's in a warm, dark, acid environment. Perfect breeding ground for bacteria if it doesn't get out. And meat and cheese don't get out. So it's going to putrefy and it's going to poison your blood. You're going to be slow, irritable, and cranky because you've got garbage rotting inside your stomach. Why do you think we sell so much Listerine and mouthwash? Yeah, it's because we're an open garbage can. Blah! Yeah, don't do it. Yeah, okay. So what I'm telling you is, anatomically, you are a plant-eating machine. You can choose to eat meat. You'll still be my friend, but not for as long, okay? Because you see, in the animal kingdom, there are some 200 communicable diseases. Of those 200 diseases, half, 100, will cross the species barrier into humans. God put a barrier there to protect it, but it's not a solid wall. Half of the diseases in the animal kingdom can get into our body if we eat it or we live too close to the animal. It's contagious. Well, I've got enough disease in the Homo sapien kingdom. I don't need 100 more from the animal kingdom. No, thank you. I have enough to deal with without 100 more coming inside. So I'm not letting them in. They stay out. And my fish, plastic goldfish, isn't going to give me any disease. That's the only pet I can have because I travel too much. I can have a plastic goldfish, and that's it. All right. So when I teach this to medical students, all they do is nod their head yes like this. So the guy is anatomically absolutely correct. We may not want to do it, but we can't argue with him. There's no I don't get no arguments from medical university students. All they do is this. Yep, guy's right. He did his homework. Well, of course, I did my homework. All right. So, we're going to have to skip. We don't have enough time for all this one here. All right. We'll hold this one just for a moment. The United States was trying to figure out why China didn't get a lot of the American diseases. When the Chinese doctors want to learn how to do an appendectomy, they have to come to the United States. They don't have appendectomies in China. Nobody gets appendicitis there. And so they said, why is it they don't have some of our issues? So Dr. T. Colin Campbell, the nutritional biochemist at Cornell University and Oxford teamed up. This was going to be a multi-million-dollar study, the largest medical study ever done in the history of mankind. They went to China with a huge team, and they studied, I think it was 6 or 8 different provinces. So they couldn't attribute it to the water or the air or the soil or anything like that. They studied the whole area of China. And they studied it, compiled the material, and they found out that the number one reason why they do not have the Western diseases is because they don't have the Western diet until they move here. And they studied Asians who moved to Hawaii, and their health plummeted within 10 years. Because where were they going? McDonald's, Chicken Licken, Colonel Cholesterol, and they started eating the Western diet, and their bodies started falling apart. They were having all kinds of health problems. So Dr. Campbell wrote this book called The China Study. And because Oxford and Cornell were doing this study, they were very careful to be correct because they didn't want to be sued by the meat and dairy industry who was going to come after them. And they certainly did, and they lost because the study was very thorough. Plus, Cornell and Oxford have a reputation to protect, and they don't want to publish something and find out it was stupid because they're not going to get any more students. Don't go to that school, they do stupid. So this was a very thorough, examined, re-examined, and checked again before they published that book, The China Study. And no lawsuit has succeeded against this book because the evidence was overwhelming, absolutely unquestionable. And so he was asked one time to speak to a room full of cardiologists, heart specialists, because again, that's the #1 killer in North America. They said, Dr. Campbell, what can we do for our heart patients? And this is all he had to say. Not a 25-page essay, just one short paragraph. And this is what he told the room full of cardiologists. When Dr. Campbell walks in the room, the doctors go like this. He's Professor Emeritus at Cornell, held in highest esteem. Somebody actually told me once when I was lecturing, you've got your information wrong. He's Professor non gratis, out of favor. And I said, really? Wow, then I better not quote him. Wow, then I went on the internet, and that person lied. I went to Cornell University's website. I asked for Dr. T. Colin Campbell. They said, oh, he's Professor Emeritus, held in highest esteem. I said, I was told he was non gratis. And they said, that's probably from the meat industry or somebody from the Dairy Council that told that lie and tried to propagate it. But it didn't catch on, because all you have to do is check with Cornell, and they say, he is not non gratis, out of disfavor. He is emeritus. So anyway, here's what he told them. Why must we be reticent or reluctant about recommending a diet which we know is safe and healthy? Oh, you guys know what's safe and healthy? Yes. He said, we as scientists can no longer take the attitude that the public cannot benefit from information they're not ready for. So do you see? Why tell the public they're not going to do anything? You see, they've been brainwashed so long by advertising that they can't handle the truth. They wouldn't know if it hit them in the face. So he said, why bother telling them? They're not going to do it. So he goes on. We must have the integrity as scientists to tell the public the truth, and then let them decide what to do with it. Thank you. We cannot force them to follow the guidelines, but we can at least give them these guidelines and let them decide. Thank you. We must tell the public that a diet of roots, stems, seeds, flowers, fruits, and leaves is the healthiest diet and the only diet we can promote, endorse, or recommend. That's from the nutritional biochemist at Cornell University who did the largest medical study in the history of mankind, the China study. And he said, plants only. No cheese, no animals, none of that. Plants is what your body is designed for, and this is what your body can thrive on. Very interesting. All right. We're heading up to 8 o'clock. We've got 45 minutes. Okay, I probably better talk about this because we're in Alaska. 8:30. Okay, so if you have to go to sleep, just empty pews back there. Help yourself. But I do throw rocks at people who snore. You think I'm kidding? Look right down here. And if they snore real loud, I put it in a slingshot. All right. Avoid alcohol. By the way, everything I have is on a thumb drive now. It used to be always on DVDs, but people say there's no more DVDs anymore. You have to get a thumb drive. So it's on a thumb drive. Everything that you've heard and more. The thumb drive has 6 hours of health presentation. You're only getting about 4 or 5. It's got 6 hours of health presentations. It's got all of the steps to Christ, not reading the book, but just key sentences. It's got 3 sermons on that. It's got a multimedia thing called When Jesus Prayed, and it's over 12 hours long, okay? So we've put that on the thumb drive. I've got a guy who does it for me in Arizona, and he says, when you need more, just call me and we'll run them off. But we put it on a thumb drive, and we ask for a donation of $75. Because, come on, it's 12 hours of information. So $75 is only like, what, $4 an hour? 12 hours, 48? No. We'll do the math later. That's right. Wow, it's doubled. Inflation. So, I mean, if you don't have the $75, too bad. No, I mean, I'll take whatever donation you can, but you can't give $1 and ask for 10 of those, okay? Because those have to be paid for. Huh? I do have some, but not for tonight. It's still Sabbath. So tomorrow night it'll be available. And I'm real happy with it. This was filmed at one of our nicest churches in Arizona, the Camelback Church. They did everything. with their high-tech equipment, so it's pretty good. And like I said, it's 12 hours worth of information, and a $75 donation will help me to continue to make these. I've got somebody who wants to reshoot them again. They said a couple years have gone by, there's more information. I said, yeah, there's a little bit more information, but really, you've got more than you can handle right now. This is overwhelming. So one of the things that I will talk about, the World Health Organization and National Academy of Sciences, they teamed together to try to figure out what they could recommend for the world population to improve their health, because it's bankrupting countries. Our medical expenses, we have the worst medical expenses in the world. You know that? America has the highest cost medical than any other country. We're also one of the sickest countries in the world. According to the United Nations, we are in the category of the most overfed, malnourished country in the world. Now that sounds like an oxymoron. How can you be overfed and malnourished? Because we're eating all these refined processed foods, and they're not providing us the nutrients that we need. It's not food as grown. And so we're overfed, we've got plenty, but we're malnourished because we're not eating the foods that are rich in nutrition. We're eating foods like white bread, French fries, and stuff like that. Potato doesn't have a lot of nutrients in it. It's a starch, and not a lot of vitamins and minerals. Unless you eat the skin, you're going to get a little more if you eat the skin. But I don't like eating skin all the time. So, let's jump over to fish. Fish will say, we have very healthy waters in our area. I don't care how healthy your water is, fish, like birds, migrate. The fish that goes through your water may have come from Japan or gone by another country, and you've got to be careful. If there was a dictator or a communist leader, they do not have regulations for atomic waste, for pollution, because they don't care. They're not going to retire in that country. That dictator's got homes somewhere else. And when that country can't support life anymore, they're off to a place that has rules and regulations. But meanwhile, our fish are swimming around and they're picking up diseases. Now, in order for the fish not to die from it, they store it in their fat cells, and they can stay alive. But when you eat that fish, do you pull the fat cells out? Of course you don't. Nobody does. So here's what happened. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife decided we better find out what's going on with the fish and why it's getting more and more unsafe. And by the way, I taught this in Kotzebue, Alaska, above the Arctic Circle. And the natives there said our fish has mercury poison. And I said, how did fish get mercury poison above the Arctic Circle? They said the acid rain from Russia crossed the Bering Straits and contaminated our rivers, our lakes, and our streams. So even if you're above the Arctic Circle, you're not safe. I taught in Fiji, I taught in Palau, I taught in Guam. Their fish is contaminated. And I had a man from the agriculture, well, you know about this in the Philippines, yes. I had a man stand up right in my seminar because people were going, oh, that's ridiculous, they're not all contaminated. And he said, I work for the Department of Agriculture, and you better listen to this man. He has done his homework. And fish migrate, and they store that atomic waste in their body, and they bring it to you. Because if it's stored in their fat cells, the fish won't die. But I have friends who are commercial fishermen, and in their nets, they're picking up fish with 2 heads. They're picking up fish with no eyes. Why? Because they're so contaminated. I mean, that would be scary. A 2-headed fish, a fish with no eyes, and I'm going to put that in me? What happened to him? I don't want 2 heads. I don't want my eyes to disappear. Whatever he ate, I'm not eating it. So, Fish and Wildlife decide to study birds because different birds eat different foods. Some birds only eat plants, some birds eat animals, some birds eat other things. So we're going to find out. This is about dairy products. All right, you saw that guy that was just up there. Did you read what it says? He's a physician chief at Johns Hopkins Children's Hospital, head of pediatrics. This is the #1 pediatrician at Johns Hopkins. And he wrote this book called Don't Drink Your Milk. Now, why would the head of pediatrics tell us not to drink milk? Well, I actually have this book. I got it at the Adventist Book Center. And I'm going to read to you the last couple of sentences. and see if it doesn't shock you. Here's what Dr. Oski said. Now, he's written 19 medical textbooks dealing with hematology, which is what? Blood. And pediatrics? Babies. All right? 19 medical textbooks. And he wrote over 250 medical manuscripts that are in the best medical research centers around the world. And this is one of the books he's responsible for. And here's what it says in the closing. I'll give you the bottom line. Cow milk has no valid claim as the perfect food. Oh, I thought they told us milk was the perfect food. Who told you? The Dairy Council? Hello? Look at your sources. As nutrition, milk produces allergies in infants, diarrhea and cramps in the older child and the adult, and is a factor in the development of heart attacks and strokes. Perhaps when the public is educated, when you listen to an advertisement, are you being educated? No, you're being propagandized. They're giving you propaganda. Perhaps when the public is educated as to the hazards of milk, only calves will be left to drink their mother's milk. You see, cow milk calcium is not bioavailable to the human system. You cannot absorb the calcium that's in cow's milk. You can absorb the calcium that's in plants. That's bioavailable to us. But cow's milk is not, you will pass it. And they'll say, oh, you got to drink milk for calcium. Yeah, you get calcium all right, but your body's going to pass it. Because it says this calcium is structured in a way that I can't absorb it. So it goes out of the body. But mustard greens, collard greens, turnip greens have twice as much calcium cup for cup as cow's milk. And it's bioavailable. Your body, because God put that calcium with other things in that plant that makes it absorbable in your human body. The cow milk doesn't have those components. And so when the body sees this, they say, this is trash, get it out of here. We can't absorb this calcium. This is something recently they found out. It is not bioavailable to the human system. So you're kidding yourself if you think you're getting calcium by drinking milk. Your body's not going to absorb it. It's going to pass it because it doesn't have the components that God knew it needed in order to be absorbed. There's got to be a certain amount of probably zinc and iron and B12 or whatever, but there has to be other components for your body to absorb that calcium, and the cow milk doesn't have it. So, yeah, people ask me all the time, where do you get your calcium? Where do you get your protein? And if you don't eat meat or don't eat cheese. And I'll say, well, I'll ask you, where does an elephant get his? He's a vegan. Gorillas, they're vegans. Giraffe goes 20 feet in the air, and he eats plants. Where are they getting it? From the plants. You see, they don't tell you that because there's not big money in eating plants. There's big money in eating animals and cheese. People say, well, I don't drink milk, I only eat cheese. My friend, it takes 5 cups of milk to make 1 cup of cheese. You're getting concentrated milk when you eat cheese. So, anyway, enough on the dairy products. I'm just telling you, dairy is scary. You can choose to drink it, but used to be when I went non-dairy back in 1975, it was, that non-dairy milk was powder, and it tasted like powder. It was awful. You had to put ketchup in it in order to drink it. And it would cost you $20. But now, you go into Safeway or Fred Meyer, there's a whole roll of non-dairy milks. Almond milk, rice milk, cashew milk. My lectures are working. So, we're wising up now, and the Dairy Council is on the run. Their profits are plummeting. People are, and the newest one that just came out a few years ago that people really seem to like is oat milk. They're buying oat butter, oat sour cream, oat milk. Apparently people really like the taste of that. So good on you. Go ahead and get it. So now let's get have I said enough? Let's go about the fish. So, by the way, this is where the calcium is. You can go to any library, get a food nutrition book, and look up calcium. It's in vegetables, it's in fruit, it's in nuts. Calcium is everywhere. You can't be calcium deficient if you have enough food to eat. You can't be calcium deficient. God didn't say, oh, I forgot about their bones. I didn't put calcium anywhere. Wow, he put it everywhere. All right, I realize that's not a good, clear picture, but any library will have that food chart, and you can look it up for more details. Okay, that's the food pyramid, the vegetarian one. You can see the bulk of your diet needs to be the grains, then the fruits and the vegetables, and then it works its way up until it gets up to the fat and the sugar. So this is the ideal. This is what Mother Earth gives us. And this is the food pyramid that we need to focus on. And if we do, we're going to be healthy, happy, and holy for heaven. All right. This is a store in Canada. Can you believe it? What does that sign say on that store? Death by chocolate. Look at the word death. What word is in the middle of the word death? Eat. And what's the last 3 letters of chocolate? I love the way God get all this stuff lined up. And if we'll sit still and pay attention, you see, I told you, you eat chocolate? Yeah, don't. It's death. So I was standing at the door trying to tell people, please read the sign, please read the sign, please read the sign. They weren't listening. They were focused on chocolate, face first. I know. Well, when you hear that dark chocolate is good for you, look who did the research, Hershey or Nestle Corporation. Yeah, there's redeeming things in everything. I mean, liquids are good for you, but not urine, not gasoline, not turpentine. See, they only tell you half the story, so they don't tell you the rest of the story. The cocoa bean and the coffee bean, if you take it out of the plant, is extremely bitter. You will puke straight in the air if you bite it. Very bitter. But man got smart. He said, we're going to take that cocoa bean and that coffee bean, and we're going to put sugar in it, and we're going to put milk in it, and it's going to taste yummy. And then you're going to get all the toxins because it's been masked by the milk and the sugar, and you don't know it. But anyway, God made it bitter for a reason. He wanted you to leave it alone. But we got inventive and creative. So we're going to have to skip some of this. I'm missing the thing that I'm trying to find here. And it should be about the fish. Well, I can't find it. So I'm going to tell you what they did. First of all, they studied birds that ate only seeds and plants. And when they looked for the PCB, that's a spray, an insecticide, okay? They wanted to see where it was at. And apparently it had washed off the plants through the rain. And so the PCB in the birds that ate plants was only 0.2. They said, well, that's harmless. So then it's called the food chain. Do you know what the food chain is? The bottom is plants and the top is animals. And then there's everything else in between. So then they studied birds that ate worms and insects. We're going up the food chain now. And worms and insects eat lots of plants. So if there's any PCB or insecticide, it's going to get concentrated in their little wormy bodies. And that's exactly what they found out. It tripled from 0.2 to 0.65. Now it's 3 times more toxic. Then they studied birds that ate small rodents, like snakes and mice and so on. And when they opened up their liver, because that's the detoxifying organ of the body, they opened up the liver to see if there was any insecticide in there, and it jumped to 50. This is dangerous. This is bad. And then, when they went to fish, they studied the birds that were basically coastal birds that ate shrimp and crustaceans and stuff like that. And when they opened up their liver, you know what the toxicity was? 900. 900. Those fish should be glowing at night. So that's what the Fish and Wildlife studied. But of course you didn't hear a lot about this study in this report because the fish industry tried to squelch it and say we're going to sue you and la 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 la. And you know, when these big corporations sue you, you can't keep up with them because they have lots of lawyers and it's going to cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions, to try to defend yourself. And so that's what happened, remember, with Oprah? When she said she wasn't going to eat meat again, and the meat went after her, and it cost millions of dollars, but she beat them. She beat them, but she had the money to spend. That was petty cash for her. She's the highest paid female TV personality in the world, is Oprah. Okay, so you know who was right behind her, I found out? Judge Judy. She's the second highest paid female. Her TV show was very popular. Judge Judy, yes. Anyway, there's probably others now. So, Oh, you found it. Was it way back there? Did I miss it? Or is it ahead? Did you go forward or backwards? Oh, okay, so I did miss it. So there you see it. The birds that ate plants, 0.2, worms, 0.6, rodents and snakes, 50, fish, 900. The toxicity in there. PCB insecticide, right, was 900. Yeah. Okay, so let's go back then. I guess I went too fast when I was trying to skip some of these. So let's get caught up. Let's go over to finish up with the cow.
So, we're in Alaska, so we have lots of Alaskan salmon. Would that be, it's wild salmon?
Salmon is one of the worst because it's,
Is it Alaska salmon?
let me tell you, it's one of the highest fat fish there is. And the fattier the fish, the more toxic he is. This is why people like salmon, because it's very fatty. And it's very fatty, and that means it's got lots of fat cells to store the poisons in. Yeah. Yeah, salmon migrate all over. You look at the migration charts, they're all over the world. Yes. So I'm just telling you the information. You get to decide, But as for me and my body, not. Okay, so I'll get this back ahead. I lost power now. Okay? Here we go. All right, the chocolate, the eat, the death. Fasting will help you get control of your diet. Technically, I fast every day because Ellen White said eating 2 meals a day is a type of fast. Well, you're not, some people eat 4 or 5 times a day. And some doctors recommend you should eat like a bird. Well, excuse me, I'm not covered with feathers and poop in the air. I'm not a bird. If you start eating like a bird, you better look and act like a bird. We're not birds. Our system is completely different. And how they could make a silly, ridiculous thing, you should eat like a bird. No, I don't tweet. I shouldn't be eating like a bird. I'm Homo sapien. I should be eating like a human. But they recommend, eat like a bird, just small bites all day long. When does your stomach rest? Never. It's constantly digesting, rotting, digesting, rotting, digesting, rotting, because it's never emptied out, because you're always throwing food down. So nothing between meals, nothing between meals. All right, so fasting. If you can, pick one day a week that you can fast. Now, you may go on a fruit fast. That helps clean the body out a little bit. But up your water to 12 to 15 glasses, because you're going to need a lot of fluid to flush the garbage that's being cleaned out. Because when you fast, you're not processing much food or eliminating it, so the body likes to stay busy. So it says, well, if you're not going to eat, I'm going to lift up this carpet and see what's under there, all right, to clean you out. And it's wonderful. Now, some people, I was a little leery getting fasting at first because I had done drugs and stuff like that, and sometimes that gets stored. And when you fast, it releases the drug. So I stayed home, away from everybody, and by the phone when I first fasted, because I thought if I go on a flashback, I'm calling 911, get me out of here. I'm going to eat a steak and make that quit. But anyway, the idea is try to fast, fruit fast if that works. If anytime you start getting sick, break your fast and start eating, okay? Break your fast. But eventually you want to get to you can at least 24 hours, nothing but water. And I do that. One day a week, 24 hours, nothing but water. And what happens then? My body has no food to process, no food to eliminate. So it says, well, what can we do? Well, let's go looking. Stuff that we shoved in the back closet that we didn't have time for, we got time for it now. So we're going to start cleaning out your closet, all right? That's exactly what you want. Get that closet clean. So anyway, highly encouraged. And so I've listed here, you can go on a fruit fast, you can go on a juice fast, you can go on a water fast, whichever one that you're comfortable with. If you're diabetic, hypoglycemic, you may need to check with your doctor, but it's recommended that you try letting the body clean itself. And when you start fasting, the body is a self-cleaning machine. It's a brilliant machine. You just got to give it a chance. And so when you do that, good things can happen.
And do your exercise, do your daily work.
Oh, yeah. You can do that. Yeah. All right. Now, people say, oh, you really can't be strong if you don't eat meat. Real men eat meat. Well, um, that slide, there should be another one. Can you go back one? Did I miss it? There should be one with Arnold Schwarzenegger. There's not one with Arnold Schwarzenegger, and he's got a movie out called Game Changer. And you can watch it, I guess, on Flick Flack or TikTok. I don't know all these things. But I have to warn you, some of these athletes have a bit of colorful language, so be careful about that. But the Game Changer, what he did is he found out all the closet vegetarians, because Arnold Schwarzenegger was a vegetarian. Did you know that? He finally got smart enough that he's a vegetarian. And I had a slide up there for that, but I don't see it right now. Anyway, these are some of the Olympic athletes that were vegetarians that didn't get a lot of publicity. Sixto Linares, he won the double Ironman competition. Paavo Nurmi, 12 Olympic medals. He's known as the Flying Finn. He's from Finland, and nobody could touch him on the track. 12 Olympic gold medals. And then he also won 9 of them were gold, 3 of them were silver. And he also did the 5,000 and 10,000 meter. Amazing guy. And of course, you've heard of Bill Pearl. I actually went by to see him because he lives in Oregon, but he was gone when I went there. 4 times Mr. Universe, he's a vegetarian. Marine Captain Alan Jones, he's all over the Guinness World Book of Records. He's a vegetarian. Now, how many of you have heard of the Ironman competition held once a year in Hawaii? This is the coveted title of the champion athletes. You have to bicycle, swim, and run all day long. Dave Scott was the first man to win it 6 times. And they said, Dave, nobody has won it 6 times. How did you do it? He said, I'm a vegetarian. They said, yeah, but how did you do it? The meathead couldn't figure it out, that it was being vegetarian. Well, Mark Allen was listening to Dave Scott saying, I'm a vegetarian 6 times. And he said, I'm going to do it. Guess who was the second man to win Ironman 6 times? Mark Allen. And that's Mark Allen and Dave Scott together in the running part of the Ironman competition. So, I mean, these guys are living proof. What more do you need? You know, it's right in front of you. So, anyway, I heard about the Senior Olympics, and I wanted to go see what it was. And when I went there, that was Dixie Stadium where it was being held. There were 25,000 spectators in the stand to cheer on their favorite countries and their favorite athletes. And there were over 1,400 athletes from 40 different countries, just like the regular Olympics, except you had to be over 50 to participate. So I think I mentioned this in church today, that I went into the cafeteria where they were eating, and they were eating pancakes and sausage and pizzas. And so I knew their blood cells were sticking together, so I decided to enter the race. There were a lot of people there. Celebrities were there. Joe Namath was there, Helen Reddy, people who are over 50 who want to see people their age still, you know, doing the Olympics. So it was kind of fun. It was a much bigger event than I ever thought was. So there's a parade of nations, all the different flags in the different countries, and there I am on that track. This doesn't have a pointer, does it? No. Well, okay, we'll just use that. That was my number, 159. And I entered 2 races, the 5-kilometer race and the 1,500-meter race. And I was praying the whole time. I said, Lord, if you give me a medal, I will use that to get into the universities and other places. And I silver medaled in the 5-kilometer race and the 1,500-meter races. And the judges were shocked. They said, you walked in off the street. You weren't trained. And you're number 2 in the world. How did you do that? I said, I'm a vegan. And they said, uh-huh. How did you do it? Well, you little meathead, sit down and I'll explain it to you. And they said, you know, if you train and come back, you're going to take away all of our gold medals. I said, I don't need to come back. I showed you that a vegan can walk in off the street and be number 2 in the world. The same guy from New York beat me. And I can look up the records. I haven't done it yet. I keep putting it off, but I need to do that. That's your homework, Paul. You can go to the World Senior Games and ask who in 2002, that's the race I was in, and who took first place and who took second place. You'll see Paul Volk as the second place person. The first place person, I want his name because I want to find out if he was an Olympic athlete when he was in his 20s. Because, yeah, I know. Do you eat plants? I eat plants. We eat plants. But I would like to find out if he was an Olympian in his 20s, because that means I was right behind an Olympic athlete. Because both times he was number one and I was number two, which is fine. God kept me humble. He said, I'm not going to get you number one, but I'll let you have number two. Okay. So, at this event, they had a bioscan machine. Just came out that year. It cost $1 million to develop this machine. And it looks like a regular projector. And it has a lens, and you put your hand over the lens, and a blue laser light goes into your skin, and it gathers data from your skin. And I went, laser light, I'm going to let a couple of people go ahead of me. So I watched everybody else, and nobody jumped, nobody screamed or yelled. You can't feel it at all, which kind of freaked me out. I said, that's a laser light. You can't feel that? Are you did you put anesthesia on your hand? So I watched 4 or 5 people do it. I said, okay, my turn. I'm going to go ahead and do it. So I put my hand on this laser light, and it's called a bioscan machine, and this is the result of that. You can see here your score. If it's under 10,000, you have a weak antioxidant defense, which means you are anemic. You need to see a doctor immediately. You're going to get every disease, every flu that goes around you. So you need to improve that. If it's 10 to 17,000, you have a very marginal antioxidant defense. 17,500 to 25,000, average. Well, you know what average means. You're going to get every cold, flu, and virus and allergy that comes around because you're average. Yeah, that's why they sell Allerest and all these other pills. But if you score over 25,000, you're optimal. Your defense system is good to go. And I really wanted to know this information because I know during the time of trouble, at the end, people are getting sick. There's going to be more things like we've never seen. Make COVID look like a sneeze. And if these people have got these diseases, I need to be well enough to help them. But if I'm sick, how can I help anybody else? I want to be there and available to help people during the time of trouble, because it's going to be like no other time in the history of the world, and we're right close now. We can see this. It's all on the walls. And you know, I listen to Trinity Broadcasting and Daystar. These are 2 other Christian satellite programs. And you know, all of those ministers are saying the same thing. People, it's over. We're not coming out of this one. They're telling all of their congregation, this is the time of trouble that's upon us. And it's not going to go back. We're going down. We're going down. They're all saying it. Yeah, they sound like Adventists. So anyway, I took this bioscan, and you can see what my score was, 34,000, which is about 10,000 over the optimal. And they said, we got to ask you a question. I said, what's that? Are you vegetarian? I said, well, what would make you to think that? Ask me that out of the blue. Am I a vegetarian? Because we've given this to thousands of people, and only the vegetarians can break the 25,000 barrier. I said, well, you just found another one. And they said, yep, we figured that. So a couple of years later, 4 years later, I was lecturing in Los Angeles, and I was staying with a couple from the church that had bought one of these machines, because they use the machine to sell you pills when they see how low your score is. Well, you need zinc, you need magnesium, you need blah, 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 you know. And so that's what it is, an investment. It was a smart investment. So they bought this machine, and I was staying with them, and they said, hey, Paul, we got one of these machines ourselves. I said, really? You walked into the house, you were greeted by a 3-story waterfall in the entryway. Yeah, these people they ate $100 bills for breakfast. Anyway, they had a yacht in the backyard too. Unbelievable. They said, have you done anything different from when you took this test? I said, yes, my diet is about 75% raw, and I'm eating more organic. But I can't eat all organic yet because it's a little expensive. So they said, well, do you want to take a test again to see if you're getting better or worse? I said, well, sure, let's find out if eating raw and more organic is better. So this is the new test now. It's really fancy. It's in full color and stuff like that. If you're in the red zone, you need to see a doctor. You're anemic. But if you're down here in the blue zone, you're doing really good. I said, well, how did I do? They said, we're not really sure. And I said, why not? And they said, because the machine, I got to get up here and see the number here. Yeah, the machine only goes up to 59,000, and when we took you, you shot off the machine. Your immune system is so high We can't measure it. And I said, that's exactly what I need for the time of trouble, to help my brothers and sisters who are sick. So thank you, God. You just gave me confirmation. I went off the chart. Over 59,000. When they say 25, you're optimum. And they said, we don't know, yours may be 200,000. We don't know what it is, because we never thought anybody would even get close to 59,000. So we just stopped there, and you went ping. I'm not telling you about the silver medals, and I'm not telling you about this to brag about me. I'm bragging about God. I'm telling you, this is what happens when you do his bidding. If you don't do his bidding, you're going to be down in the immune system that is in trouble. I don't want that. So, how much time we got? Oh, about 10 more minutes. What's that? Oh, yeah. Yeah, you guys would string me up if you didn't get it. That's what you came for. That's why we showed it. I told them, let's show it at the beginning. I said, no, we better show it at the end, or they're going to leave. Yeah. Yeah, show that video. This was on 60 Minutes. You know that is a very credible TV news program. These guys, they do their homework. And if you're messing up, they're going to rip you to pieces. And that's exactly what they did to Juvenal, the food flavoring company.
As the Thanksgiving weekend comes to a close, you may feel as overstuffed as that turkey.
Who saw that 59,000? Who saw that? Wow, that's really good. You can be my chauffeur.
You ate. And if you're overweight, and the chances are you are, it's probably because you eat too much of the wrong stuff. Most of the wrong stuff we eat comes in a bottle, a can, or a box, food that's been processed. Much of that food has been flavored. The flavoring industry is the enabler of the food processing business, which depends on it to create a craving for everything from soda pop to chicken soup. It is Willy Wonka and his chocolate factory as a multi-billion-dollar industry, an industry cloaked in secrecy. But recently, Givaudan, the largest flavoring company in the world, allowed us in to see them work their magic.
Put on your
The
seatbelt.
story will continue in a moment.
This is big.
So definitely an aroma. The mandarin, Dancy Tangerine. Real mild though, not in your face.
These are super sniffers, super tasters.
And more bitter.
On the prowl, the special forces, first responders to the call for the next best taste.
The mandarin notes are fantastic in this.
Yeah.
They're braving the wilds of a citrus grove in Riverside, California, where Jim Hassel, whose nose and palate are legendary, leads a Givaudan team on a taste safari. Big game hunters in search of the next great taste in soft drinks. Their inspiration, the greatest flavorist of them all, Mother Nature.
Amen.
Seeing everything that's available really just drives the whole creative process.
Like an artist going to Rome or something.
Correct.
But the ultimate purpose is to sell more soft drinks or whatever.
That's what we're in the business of. Selling flavors.
Let's go sniffing. Our perception of taste is largely located in the nose, but described in the language of music.
Do you get like a tropical note, a little bit of papaya,
Yep.
potentially?
Yeah. A cotton candy note.
Cotton candy a little bit.
They're plotting how to move the flavors they find in this grove to your supermarket shelf, and then on to your stomach.
I can see it in a sports drink. I can see it in a water, flavored water. And I also can see it in a twist on an orange carbonated beverage.
When they find something they like, they extract its flavor molecules from the fruit on the tree. Then back in the lab, they mimic Mother Nature's molecules with chemicals. Essentially what you do is you take whatever this smells like
Right.
and copy it.
Right. Exactly.
And then I suppose you could, if you choose to, you could quote unquote improve on it.
Exactly. Yes, we all the time.
The Holy Grail, a flavor so good you can't resist it.
In our fruit flavors, we're talking about we want, a burst in the beginning and maybe a finish that doesn't linger too much so that you want more of it.
And you don't want a long linger because you're not going to eat more of it if it lingers.
Ah, so it's going to be a quick fix, and then
Have more.
have more. But that suggests something else,
Exactly.
which is called addiction.
Exactly.
You're trying to create an addictive taste.
It's a good word.
Or something that they want to go back for again and again.
Food companies know that flavor is what makes repeat customers. So they commissioned Givaudan to create what they hope will be a mouth-watering taste. Givaudan may be the biggest multinational you've never heard of. The Swiss company employs almost 9,000 people in 45 countries, providing tastiness to just about every cuisine imaginable. There's a lot of secrecy involved in your profession, correct?
Our intellectual property are our formulas. Without that, we have nothing, so there's a lot of secrecy. You really don't want anyone to know.
My world is making things taste good.
Soda pop and chewing gum flavorist Michelle Hagen has helped Givaudan and the food companies make billions with her secret formulas.
I create thousands of flavors, so I need somewhere to put them. And I have a lot of flavors in here.
What are these?
So here are some oranges and tangerines.
750 flavors, orange, tangerine, mandarins.
Raspberry is one of my favorite. I can't even fit all my raspberries on here.
How different can raspberries be?
Oh, very different, very different. Oh, yeah. You can make them jammy, you can make them sweet, you can make them floral, you can make them seedy. It's endless, really.
And the flavor ingredients might not have ever met a raspberry.
I have butyric acid artificial, and then I have butyric acid natural.
All flavors are combinations of chemicals. Artificial flavors are largely man-made. Natural flavors come from nature, but not necessarily from what the label implies. For example,
Strawberry creations.
strawberry and vanilla flavor can come from the gland in a beaver's backside.
So what we do is just manipulate them and create with them and give the impression of, the papaya or the strawberry.
Hagen is an illusionist. She's even created a flavor that mimics the taste and smell of an old oak tree.
To give whiskey a little bit more depth sometimes, a young whiskey.
Oh, to give the taste of the barrel it was supposed to have been aged in, correct?
Yes. Yeah, you can add some cask notes, some oak notes. Okay, here we go.
Hassel and Hagen let us in on the alchemy of inventing a new flavor. This one inspired by a Hong Kong kumquat that the team found not in Hong Kong, but back in Riverside. It's a process using hundreds of different notes until they've created a symphony of taste.
I mean, with a name like Hong Kong kumquat, you really have to have something going on, I think.
But I'm curious to see the carrot on top of the kumquat.
That is interesting. That is very interesting.
You get the citrus, but you have the carrot poking its head out,
Yeah, it's very complex.
but not overpowering.
That's really exciting. This is a home run.
There's no shortage of metaphors in the flavoring business. Givaudan goes to the ends of the earth scouting for new flavors. In Hong Kong, Givaudan convened their annual conclave.
You can watch it. It's probably on YouTube, but just put 60 Minutes Givaudan or flavorings, and you should be able to find it on YouTube. Wasn't that shocking? And you heard him say, I told you this in the sermon, addiction is a good word. Those are his exact words. Addiction is a good word. Yeah, no psychologist will agree with that. Addiction is not a good word. Yeah, yes, it's good for their wallet. Yeah. All right. Are we back on the PowerPoint? If you're my bodyguard. 3 months? In 3 weeks, I will be gone until April. I'll be in Brazil and Tennessee. I'd love to go. I'm doing events myself. Really? Yeah, that's why I love to hear you. And where's this at? In Tonga? Oh, that means I have to wear that black skirt, right? Yeah, and nice underwear? I remember wearing that when I was there. I feel sorry for you ladies, man. You know, the wind's coming up all the time and you got to grab your clothes. You don't go upstairs if anybody's down there. Huh? You wear shorts? Why didn't they tell me? Okay, what is this here? Oh, that, yeah. No, it's a doctor who was upset with me, and he wanted to do 3 blood panels on me to prove that I was sick, and all 3 blood panels, he sent it to 2 other laboratories because his lab didn't test for all this. He was determined to prove that I was not healthy. And so he took 3 blood draws, and because he was 200 pounds, so I had to be sick. And he was embarrassed when he was done with all of them. All of them were excellent, excellent. You know, when they do a blood panel, you can't be too low and you can't be too high. Both of them are danger. Every one of them, well, you can almost see it, well, you can see the word there. You see the word normal? Every single one was normal. Every one of them that he tested me for. He couldn't find any fault. Yeah. So, let's, Ecclesiastes, it says to eat for, whose princes eat at the proper time, to eat for strength and not for drunkenness. And when I heard that, I thought, Solomon, what do you mean eat to drunk? I drink to get drunk. I don't eat to get drunk. But you know, Ellen White backed that up. She says many parents have turned their children into alcoholics at the dinner table because the food they were eating was full of excitotoxins. It was full of all of these artificial things, and that moved them into an area where they like living on excitotoxins. So they fall into pornography, they fall into drugs, they fall into cigarettes, because, and you can read Dr. Blaylock, B-L-A-Y-L-O-C-K. He has a whole book called Excitotoxins. And when you give this to a child who's still developing, his development is impaired. It's hindered, and they don't develop properly. And so what happens is you're going to end up with a mass murderer or rapist on your hand because they didn't develop correctly. And so Ellen White said, it happens at the dinner table. That's where it started, you know. Oh, but Johnny likes this. Oh, this is Susie's favorite dessert. Excuse me, you're the parent. You know, you're not the Santa Claus where you're supposed to make your kids happy all the time. That's a disaster waiting to happen. So, anyway, we don't have time to go into this test rats, but here's one thing I will tell you. When somebody says, well, I don't believe I need to drink that much water. I don't believe I need to get to bed by 9 o'clock. I don't believe blah, 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 blah. I don't believe it. I'm not convicted on that. And I said, okay, if you're not convicted on, I'm going to ask you 3 questions before I let you go. If you're not convicted about something, do you pray about it? Well, no, I don't want to pray about it because I may get an answer and then I'm going to have to be convicted. And that means I got to change, and I don't want to change. Well, do you study? Study, show yourself approved unto God, a man rightly dividing the word of truth. Well, if I learn the facts, I may have to change, and I don't want to change. Would you talk to other people? I personally have talked to federal meat inspectors. Every one of them is a vegetarian. You know why? Because they know what's FDA-approved meat. And that's a whole nother story. But every federal meat inspector, I haven't talked to all of them, but everyone I've talked to, absolutely no animals are allowed in the house. My children are allowed to have meat. If they want meat, they have to go to McDonald's, because I know what gets approved. Fit for human consumption, you would have a fit if you knew what you were consuming. Yeah, when these cows walk off those cattle cars, gray pus can be pouring out of their eyeballs. They could be bleeding out of their side from diseases. All they do is scrape it off, and they process the rest as hamburger. That's right. And this federal meat inspector told me that. When they open up that cattle door, it has to be alive. They have a 20-foot ramp that they have to walk on. As soon as all 4 hooves touch the ground, it's fit for human consumption. In the next 3 steps, it could fall over dead. But all 4 hooves have to touch the ground. This is what the federal meat inspector told me. As soon as those hooves touch the ground and it's alive, we're done. No more inspection. It's passed. It's good. Gray pus, just scrape it off. Well, you know when there's pus, it's in the whole system. It's just festered in one particular area. So we've got to be smart about this and not let them trick us. So if you don't want to pray about it, if you don't want to study about it, if you don't want to talk to anybody, I don't want to hear the truth because I may have to change. Your problem isn't that you're not convicted. Your problem is you're not converted. That's the issue. Because you see, a converted person who's following Jesus is going to pray about everything they do. They're going to study and find out all the facts. And they're going to talk to anybody. I mean, I talk to anybody, whether it's about religion or politics. If you're a Democrat, I'll talk to you. Gave that away, didn't I? Yeah, but I talk to Muslims, I talk to Mormons. I have Mormon missionaries for dessert. I love talking with the Mormon missionaries because I open up their eyes to stuff they haven't seen. And after a couple of months, the bishop tells them, you quit going to that house. You're coming back asking too many questions because they never thought of this. I said, did you ever know this? Well, I didn't know that. Where is it at? And I said, right here, Revelation chapter 22, verse 13. Oh, they go back to the bishop. What about this? They said, that's not important. Remember, the Book of Mormon is correct. This is not correct. So after a while, the bishop says, you stay out of that house because he's going to start you thinking and asking questions. And we don't want you to think or ask questions. You listen and repeat. This is exactly what the catechism is. You know that, don't you? Those of you who grew up Catholic, you answer they give you the answer that you're supposed to answer. You don't have to think. The catechism says, here's the question, here's the answer. And so you go blah, 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 and you're just a bimbo. You're not thinking. And so that means people can control you. I was known as the why kid. My parents could have told you this when they were alive. But as soon as I learned to talk, I kept asking, why? 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 Why do I have to do that? Why should I eat that? Why should I go there? I wanted to know why. And my parents couldn't wait until I learned to read. They bought a set of encyclopedia. And they kept saying, look it up. I said, I don't know how to spell it. They said, we'll help you. But I've never stopped being the why kid. At 75 years old, I'm still asking why. When I was at the general conference, believe me, I asked why quite a few times. Why are you doing this? Why is this happening? Why was this approved? Why was this? Yeah, I'm going to ask why until I stop breathing. Because I never want to stop learning. I never want to stop growing. I never want to start getting to where God wants me to be. So, I'm going to close with 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verses 23 and 24. Is this New King James? Okay. 1 Thessalonians chapter 5. Get these T's all in here. And verse 23 and 24. I like what it says here. Paul is writing this to the people at Thessalonica. And he said, and this is what I'm closing the lecture tonight about, 1 Thessalonians 5:23, and now may the God of peace himself sanctify you completely, and may your whole spirit, soul, and body be preserved, blameless at the coming of our Lord Jesus Christ. He who calls you is faithful, who will also do it. You see, I know God called you because you're here tonight. You wouldn't be here if God didn't call you. He called you here for a reason. He wanted you to learn something. He wanted you to grow closer to him. Because he wants you to know, we're going into the time of trouble now, and you need to smarten up, and you need to get serious about this stuff. You can't be playing games anymore, because you're going to be out. Now is the time. You see, this is the generation, like no other generation that has existed on planet Earth. This is the generation to be translated. Translated, not resurrected. There's a difference. Resurrection is one standard. Translation is another standard. The bar goes up if you want to be translated. If you want to be alive when Jesus comes to be translated, the bar goes up. And that's why I teach this seminar, because this seminar is a high bar. And that's why the whole church isn't here tonight, because they don't want to go up. They don't want to change anymore. They want to be same old, same old. This is what I like, and this is what I'm going to do. Now, I'm not saying you're going to be lost just because you're resurrected, but you're not going to be translated. You're not going to be translated. And I want to be alive when Jesus comes. I want to see him come. And I'm at the age and the time now that it still can happen. And as my Sunday friends I told you are saying on Trinity Broadcasting and Daystar, people, it's over. We're going down and we're not going back up. This is it. This is a crash landing. This is over. And I'm just going, wow. I couldn't believe it. All the big people on Trinity Broadcasting and Daystar, they're all saying that. None of them are saying, oh, we got another 50 years. No, they're saying, no, now. Get in or you're going to be left out. You either get in or you're going to be left out. Not getting in is a choice. You're going out. And God will honor you. He's not going to force you. But if you don't want in, if you don't want to go up with the bar, you're not going to be translated. You know, she says that. And I'm going to tell you guys this, and I don't usually tell a church, but I'm not going to be up here in Alaska much longer. I'm leaving the state. Right now I'm doing my last search, and by next summer I will be done with Alaska. So I'm going to tell you something I've never told any Alaskan congregation. Ellen White says, meat eaters will not be translated. You are going to die. You will not be translated. Because you see, by eating meat, your body isn't at its maximum capacity. She didn't say you're not going to be saved, but she did say if you eat meat, you are going to die. You may be resurrected in the first resurrection, hopefully, but I wouldn't take that chance. That's Russian roulette. How much can I eat? How often can I eat it? But if you eat meat, you will not be translated. And I can show you several references on that. But I usually don't quote this and I don't talk about it, but my time here in Alaska is almost over. So I'm going to have to spill all the beans, and I'm going to have to tell you everything that I know. And it may be a little too much, but you know what? When we get to the end, it's going to seem like too much. I didn't want to know that. But you need to if you're going to go and be translated. If you're going to go through the time of trouble, you need to know all of it. And so some people just, they want to play, I'm not convicted. Yeah, quit talking to me. I'm not going to pray about this. No, you want to. You want to. We will be the most unique existing thing in the entire universe, the people who were translated. There'll be nobody else in the universe like us. We are the people who went through trials, temptations, disappointments, and then walked through hand in hand with Jesus. What an honor. This is the highest honor the universe is ever to see. And they're on the edge of their seats now saying, okay, people, it's going to happen now. We're there. They're going to get translated. These are them. They're right here. And I want to be in that group. I want you to be in that group. And if I said anything that offended you, it's not my intent. I read it. God gave it to us. I didn't make this stuff up. This is not my material. This is God's material. And you need to take it seriously. And I want every one of you, there's no reason why anyone in this room can't be translated. I think we've got enough time, being so short, that we can all be translated. And we will be the most unique, most in-demand entity in the entire universe. Those are the people who were translated. They were translated. Nothing else like that in the universe. So this is our chance. This is our time, which means we need to read and study and show ourselves approved unto God. We need to keep our devotional life strong and growing, and our prayer life strong and growing. And as we do this, God will be giving us more convictions. I need to stop watching this. I need to stop wearing this. I need to stop listening to this. I need to stop eating this. I need to stop hanging around at that person. I need to stop going to that place. You know who it is. You know where it is. You need to stop if you're going to go all the way and be the most unique species in the entire universe. That's you. That's possible because it's happening right now. All right. You're the first one to hear those being spilled. So You can't fire me because I'm leaving. Yes, but they didn't go through the time of trouble. But you're right, and Moses, but he was resurrected, right? But Enoch and but they didn't go through, at least in the biblical record, they didn't go through what we're going to be going through, because that's why Revelation says a time of trouble such as never was before. So this has never happened in the universe, and we're here. We're here. Moses, Jeremiah, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, they would have given anything to actually get in line with us and say, I'm in, count me in, I want to go. Yeah, I want to be that one group in all history of time that were translated into heaven because they vowed, I am turning my back on the world, I'm giving God everything, and you make the choice, he makes it happen. Isn't that right? You make the choice, we're going to talk about that more tomorrow night. You make the choice, he makes it happen. We've been getting messed up because we make the choice and then we think we have to make it happen, and then we fail, and then we say, I can't do it. And that's why people quit, that's why they leave the church, and that's why they stay in Laodicea. They never get out of Laodicea. And I can tell you, sadly, in all the churches, and I've been to hundreds of churches around the world, I see a lot of Laodicea. I see very little on-fire churches. And what I saw at General Conferences last year would break your heart. Break your heart. Because when I go to a General Conference, when I go anywhere, I tell the Lord, and he knows this in the honesty of my heart, you let me see what you want me to see, you let me hear what you want me to hear, and then you tell me what to say. That's my agreement with God. I have no agenda. I'm not looking for anything. I'm not trying to find something out. It just has to come right to me. If it comes to me, and boy, at GC, it came to me. This may be the last General Conference. We may not have another one. This may be the last one. People said, enjoy this one. We don't think there's going to be another one. We don't have another 5 years. I don't know. But that's what I was hearing. I wasn't digging for it. I just kept hearing it. And I got actually in contact with a gentleman who's been on the General Conference Executive Board for 20 years. And he said, you know, we're in trouble. We're in trouble. And he said, and he told this at a special meeting, that you had to find out about it. It wasn't announced anywhere. But somebody said, Paul, you need to go to this meeting at this hotel. It's in a ballroom. And I said, what's it doing there? Because they weren't allowed in the regular place. So they rented a ballroom at a hotel. And certain people apparently got to find out, and I happened to be one of them. Doug Batchelor was there. A couple of other people you would know, but I'm not here to name names. But we were listening to these people. Well, you know one of them, the guy that got disfellowshipped recently in the... Conrad Vine was there. He spoke. And so did the pastor that at Walla Walla Church. No, I think it's the one at Walla Walla. An amazing guy. I've watched his sermons, and he got disfellowshipped, and it was wrong. But anyway, that's another story. I'm not trying to get you any discouragement, but you need to be smart, you know, and you can't believe everything that you hear. You need to check it out. And so when these people were telling me this stuff at General Conference, I began to think too, this is the last General Conference. We can't pull this off for another 5 years. You know, we have enough damage. We can't pull through this one. So anyway, that was their message, and it was just amazing to me. And again, I told you what I told God, and I prayed and fasted extra for this General Conference. And I said the same thing I always say, you let me see what you want me to see, you let me hear what you want me to hear, and you let me say what you want me to say. I have no agenda, Lord. I'm putting this all in your hands, because if it gets in mine, it's going to get messed up. And I don't want that to happen. I don't want to cause damage to myself or anybody else. So you let me see what you want me to see, hear what you want me to hear, and then say what you want me to say. And that's my agreement with God. It's been that way for decades. I'm not on my agenda. Lord, here I am. You write and you direct what you want because I'm giving it to you. And that's an agreement I have with God. You know, I'm not playing games. God, this is your and my agreement. You know, we've had this for decades. So it's all in your hands. And this church is going to go through. You're clear on that, and we've been told that. It may appear to fall. And we've got some slippery stuff going on that looks like we could. Yeah, but it's not. It's going to go through. It may not be recognizable. It may not be the way we see it, but it is going to go through because the movement is going through. That's why I like people. They say, what church you belong to? I said, you know, I belong to something bigger than a church. I don't really belong to a church. They said, what do you belong to? I said, a movement. And they said, really, what's a movement? I said, a movement is a group of people that are pushing through by the grace of God, doing what he asks them to do. A church can be confusing. And so, and then it throws up, you know, oh, I know what those are like. I know what Baptists do. I know what Mormons do. I know what Adventists do. No, you don't. Yeah, but we can join the movement. And the movement is going to go through. It's called the remnant people. Yeah. And it may not be at 204 10th Avenue. We don't know. So I'm not trying to discourage you, but I'm trying to help you be aware so you don't be shocked when it starts to happen. Because it is going to happen. And it's going to happen sooner than we think. We can already see things are moving very rapidly in politics, in the food industry, in the entertainment and television and music industry. It's going incredibly fast, and incredibly dangerous. So we could break out with a worldwide disease any day, because all we have to have is another factory in China to let it out. And man, it's going to be pandemonium. And if your immune system isn't up, you're going down. You need to make sure that immune system is up, whatever it takes, because you want to be that amazing person that was translated. And you can. You happen to appear on this time of Earth's history to be translated. Here you are. This is it. This is serious. So we're going to wrap it up tomorrow, and I've gone over time, and I'm glad that you're here. And just pray about what I have told you and let you and God work it out. I'm just the messenger. You get to decide what you want to do. You'll always be my friend. You'll always be my brother, my sister. But this is the time for translation. And I'm using that now more in my sermons and in my presentations. I'm saying we preached for decades. I did too. Be ready for that first resurrection. Be ready for that first resurrection. But about 5 years ago, it clicked with me. We're now supposed to get ready, not just for resurrection. We're supposed to get ready for translation. This is now the time. And people are being impressed to preach about this more. Being ready for translation. High calling. But all you have to do is choose. God gives the power. Amen? Let's pray. Father in heaven, oh, you're such a good God. And we are in the most unique period of time in the history of the universe. And we want to be part of that. We want to come through with you, hand in hand, Lord, to show the universe what God is really like and your love. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Now, I did